For the vast majority of drivers in Formula Neagle, winning is unimaginable. For them, success is measured by not trips to victory lane, but by improved performances from race to race, season to season. But for a graced few, winning comes often and sometimes quickly. In the case of Christian Perez, the third time was the charm. A series debut in season 20 resulted in a disappointing 23rd. A sophomore return a season later saw the Spaniard come home in second. Then 2 weeks ago, in the season 23 opener at Watkins Glen, did what so many can only dream, earn his first Formula Neagle win. So today, we leave behind the boot at the Glen and visit the boot of Europe, the Italian peninsula. Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginners League from the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo and Dino Ferrari, this is round 2 coverage of the Formula Neagle Season 23 Championship. And all the simulated Skippy action from green flag to victory donut streams your way live as it happens right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Buongiorno, everyone, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. Way up in the press box to bring you our Words Eye View, DJ Clark, alongside yours truly, Bill Soupson. Pushing the sliders and turning the knobs is our director, Joe Peak, armed with cameras located, aimed, zoomed, and focused by Dougie Beard. It has been 28 events way back in season 17 since Formula Neagle last came to Imola. On that day, it was Greg Seitz picking up the first of his 6 career wins, just ahead of who else? David Burns, who has witnessed more than a few drivers get their inaugural win from his runner-up position. For example, last round's winner, Christian Perez. So since it's been 18 real-world monthly calendar page flips since this place last hosted Formula Neagle, let's take a closer look at today's racing venue.
Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds one more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them?
A look at Imola. Now let me reintroduce my booth mate for Formula Neagle, DJ Clark. DJ, welcome.
Thanks, Soup. It is absolutely a delight to be back here at Imola, one of the greatest racing circuits in the world. And these Skip Barber cars, they're going to have a whole lot of fun here. Imola is a track notoriously difficult to pass on, and while these cars may be very narrow, I think it's still going to be a bit of a challenge for these cars to get a good pass on. 2 best overtaking opportunities, way I can see it, will be down into that tricky first chicane complex of Tamburello, and we may see a little bit of slicing and dicing coming into the last corner complex of Ravazza, but it's going to be very difficult across the boards. Agua Minerale, 9 and 10, always hard to take on, no matter what car you're in, and you've got to get a good exit out of Tosa, that 7th corner hairpin, to be able to get anything going. This is really going to be a race, though, Soup, in these Skippies, where it's all about mistake avoidance, and that's going to be the best way forward.
Indeed it is. Talk about mistake avoidance. One of our fan favorites, Yushunk, had trouble in the opening round. You won't see him in the driver standings when we go there right now. Let's look at the F1 driver standings. At the top of the chart, it is Christian Perez, but as last check, he is not here today. So that means that it is going to be David Third Degree Burns, the two-time champion, who's going to be in the catbird seat here for this championship. Take a look at Johan Vanderbilt there, a mended broken heart pumping in his chest. Johan was able to cherry-pick himself a podium position, and surprisingly, he is back for a second race, as is Manuel Lachetta. Man, he had a ferocious drive through the field, earning him a fourth-place spot. And then poor fuel strategy and some bad racecraft from the competitors ahead of him allowed Christopher Crook to steal fifth, his best result in 23 Formula Neagle entries. Now, there are some other champions to watch, and DJ's going to talk about the F2 Championship.
Well, the F2 Championship is for drivers with an I rating under 2,300, and Soup, you mentioned it right there. Christopher Crook's fifth position overall, able to pop him into first place in that F2 Championship. Series organizer Wojciech Podacek, one of those drivers to fall foul of the fuel strategy last time out, costing him that podium, that chance that he was looking to get. He currently sits second. Gustafsson made his series debut last week and did pretty well with it. A third place in the F2 driver standing, thanks to a ninth place overall finish. Eric Lundberg had his best race out in 12th last round, and that sees him in fourth, and Ariseas in 14th. But we also have a teens championship as well. Leading off everybody, the Evolve Motorsports, that is Vanderbilt and Podacek. They have 38 points to Bream and Burns' two stupid dogs. Burns obviously getting a second there. Bream out of the points, that really hurt him. Street Trends Team 2, only Christopher Crook in that team as of now, and he currently is bringing them in third place, 21 points back of the leader. Team Combat is sitting in fourth, very close to Street Trends 2. They're only 3 points back. And NHR Esports currently in fifth.
Thank you, DJ. A lot to keep track of. We'll watch all of those championships as the season progresses. We're always picking up new viewers, so let's take, DJ, a quick look at the event details.
Well, this is the second round of the 23rd season of the ABL Formula Neagle Series. We are going to be running the Skip Barbers out here today. Those Formula 2000 cars, narrow wheels, little downforce, always a blast to drive. It's a 40-minute race. We are currently about 7 minutes into our 15-minute qualifying session, which will lead us off to a standing start once this race gets going. Now, important thing to remember, this is completely open setup for these drivers. They are able to fine-tune the cars to what suits their driving style and what suits the track best, but there is a 51% fuel limit, which means, Soup, we are going to get pit stops.
A few other things to keep in mind when we talk about race details. We got a very short season, only 5 races long, and no drop races. So I talked about it in the opening. The Junkyard Dog, Yush Junk, had that mistake. Man, if you make a mistake in a 5-race season and there's no drop races, it is hard to come back from. Really, we were talking about it that David Burns really is in a good position here. He's consistent, DJ, and now he has the point lead.
He is consistent, as you almost always see David on the podium as we watch him currently working his way around a lap, currently sitting in second with a 2:04.171. David loves to be in that popcorn position and just see what shakes out in front of him.
I want to emphasize, gone this season is the 3-point bonus points for the top 3 drivers. There used to be 9 points spread out over the top 3. They took that away, but there is still an advantage here. DJ, unlike a lot of tracks where maybe the qualifying position not all that important, you talked about it here, passing might be a little trickier. You don't want to be up front.
No, you very much want to be at the pointy end of the field, as this is one of the few tracks we've seen in Formula Neagle over the past couple of seasons that is not a draft monster. It's really all about the corners here. And so you want to be at the front end of the field. Going to be very, very difficult to overtake no matter which way you slice it.
It's always beautiful in Italy. Why don't we take a quick look at the weather and see what the drivers are up against today? What do you think?
Well, that 81-degree track temperature is going to be just about perfect. Not too warm, not too cold. A little bit of Goldilocks going on. 74 degrees air temperature. Winds out of the southwest at 8 miles an hour. That's not going to have too much an effect on these cars, as they are nice and narrow, and there's not a lot of downforce to throw anything off. And humidity sitting at about 52%. Clear skies, no clouds in the air, so I would imagine those to stay pretty consistent throughout the course of the race.
All right, let's put the camera on car number 78. It is Christian Kabonke. He is a veteran of this series. Little by little, he has been improving, and right now he sits at the top of the charts. We'll see if that holds up. We've seen this a lot sometimes. Open qualifying like this, DJ, you never know what's going to happen.
You don't, but we don't have that added whoo-hoo, as there you see a driver in front of Christian getting a little squirrely, throwing him off his game a little bit, probably. But we don't have mega draft area to take into consideration on this, so it's much more about running the best lap you can run here. And so that time from Christian, very competitive. He's about 0.3 up on Manuel Lucetta for second, so keep an eye out for him.
About one car length behind him. Who else? It's David Burns. Man, he is sneaky. He's found himself somebody fast, and he's tucking in behind him, see if he can move up a little bit. You talked about Lucetta. Man, that guy is fun to watch. He as here comes Burns trying to make a little bit of a slingshot here at the very end. See what kind of time he can get. He's already crossed the line. They go down here into this is Tamburello. This is a chicane, a kind of a left chicane that's really tricky.
It is, and it's sort of a diametrically opposed corner to Villeneuve right ahead of it. That first corner, very, very tight, and then it tightens up again for the second part of it, only to widen out at the exit, whereas Villeneuve is an incredibly wide open first corner. There you can see it, and then kicking back to another wide second one, so you don't have to brake nearly as much. But obviously, the exit for Villeneuve, very important to get down to this amazing hairpin of Tosa. It dips a little bit and then immediately rises back up the hill to go up to Piratella.
Can't imagine it's going to be that great of a run as they start to come up on Naylor and Garros for some traffic. Let's look at the guy we're talking about, Manuel Lucetta. Man, he qualified poorly in the opening round, flew through the field, coming across the line right now. Let's see if he can better his time. He does not. Oh, he does! Moves up to the pole. Spoke too soon, Soup.
Looks like Manuel's listening to you there, Soup, trying to prove you wrong. That's a really good run from Lucetta, about a 10th up on Kabonga. So that will put him in a very, very good position as they're 3 wide down the straights there, diving into Variante Alta. There you see Kabonga trying to do something. Burns running a little bit foul of some slower cars out there on the track.
You see on the tower, Burns in third, then the Junkyard Dog Yushunk in the 4th position. There he is in his familiar pink and yellow livery. Makes me feel like I'm looking at a hot dog there. The pink of the wiener and the yellow of the mustard. Right on board with the Junkyard Dog. That car just ahead of him is Josh Brain. I think that's going to slow him down a little bit.
Yeah, you can see just how much he's fighting the wheel behind that car, trying to make something happen. Going to be able to take a little bit of an advantage of a draft here. That run from Ravazza all the way down to Tamburello, one of the only advantages where you will get a little bit of a draft there. You see to the outside, but what makes this so interesting, Soup, is this is a straight that isn't a straight. It curves and goes, and so you can take a little bit of an inside line on it.
Indeed, and the Junkyard Dog now up into second. You know, he got behind the car of Josh Brain there, and I think, even though he might have been slowing down through the corners, he caught him at the right time, right on the main straight. Gets a good slingshot now, moves up into second, drops Burns down into 4th. All right, let's look at car number 302. This is a veteran from way back, returning to the series. Ricard Allard, sitting, well, now as last time I looked at him, he was sitting in 5th. He's now dropped down to 6th as Taylor Reeder scoots up inside the top 5. Allard, DJ, there was as Reeder puts it in the wall, there was some, Allard put a little bit of fear into the drivers here, the competitors, as he mentioned the return maybe of the Bushfink tandem, bringing in Errol Num, but Num's has some iRacing conflicts, time schedule. He's not able to come back at least this season. A little bit of you can hear the drivers a collective sigh.
Everybody breathing a bit easier now that Lee Anderson and Arrow not being in this season. Be loving to see them for this next season, season 2 of 2021, though. Hopefully they can both make their return. But Allard, for now, working his way down into Ravazza. You can see there ahead of him, much like Yonk, going to be hoping to take advantage of a nice little bit of a draft coming off of Ravazza, too.
I don't think we got much here. This looks like a slow one. Let's go ahead and put the camera on car number 10. We don't give him a lot of screen time. This is Nick Carty. He's in a little bit of a battle right now with veteran Eric Lukle. Carty says, I've had enough of that. He's going to bring it in the pits. Sitting 7th right now. Let's focus on Lukle then as he comes across the line. Lukle way down in 14th, looking for an F2 championship. He improves a little bit, moving up into 11th.
Also moving up the order, David Burns putting in a 2:03.270, about a tenth and a half up on the rest of the field. Here comes Ingveldsson coming across the line. This is going to be a very slow lap for him not able to put in a good time previously. And the checkered flag is waving here at qualifying, so these laps that you see finishing, Soup, will be the last ones these drivers can set.
DJ with Burns sitting on pole. The poor guy might have to lead a lap or two early on, huh?
It'll be a position we're not used to seeing him in between the last stages of the race, so that'll be certainly interesting for David if he's able to start off P1.
Newcomers to the series, David Burns has a reputation of sitting back and letting guys fight it out in front of him, saving a little bit of fuel. 37 drivers able to put in qualifying time. 6 have not so far. 5 have not so far.
There we see Tom Dell coming across the line, trying to improve, and he very much will. He sets in a 2:05.4, so he's going to jump up the order there, so good for him. Here comes Guerrara coming across his previous best at 2:07.3. I think he'll be slightly better here. Yes, just a 10th up. He's going to be very, very fall down in the order, though, so not the best. He'll be 29th.
As these guys try to put in their finishing laps there's Merrick Leolis. He sent a little message to me, said, Soup, my nickname is Lion, so I'll go ahead and use that. Works for me. Sitting in 24th right now. There's Zach Naylor coming in for a stop. Apparently didn't think he had improved on his time.
Here comes Josh.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say, here comes Josh Brain working around that last corner. Very, very wide. Track limits will be a factor here, but he's going to duck into the pits and deprive us of setting a good time.
The very personal Johan Vanderbilt doing the driver meeting right now. He's sitting down in the Baker's Dozen spot. Got that podium. Congratulations to him. Good to see him back racing with us. And it looks like we have our final drivers coming across the line right now. And indeed, it was 37 able to put in time, with Zach Naylor being the final of those qualifiers. Let's go ahead. Since we have a full field and a standing start, let's go to the grid right now. Well, it's David Third Degree Burns, a two-time champion, on pole. He's flanked by Manuel Lucetta. Yus Young, the junkyard dog, in third, inside of Christian Cabanca. Taylor Reeder, we saw him crash the car. Nevertheless, he sits in 5th inside of veteran Ricard Allard. Nick Carty, we talked about him. He'll sit in 7th. He's flanked by veteran of Two Stupid Dog fame, Vincent Bream. Patrick O'Leary in 9th, with Wojciech Podojek in 10th.
Starting off in 11th is going to be Eric Lukle, followed by the Trident, Frederick Neptune. Behind him will be lining up the fan build of Johan Vanderbilt, followed by Josh Brain. Row behind them will be Ludwig Sauer and Timmy Nylander. Christopher Giros lines up 17th, followed by Martin Rendell, and Christopher Crook and Joe Turner McMullen will be lining up 19th and 20th.
Hidden blackjack is Jeffrey Bauer, with Neil Bamber, a former champion, in the double duck spot. Jon Mild in the 23rd spot inside of the Lion, Merrick Leolis. Craig Schill and Troy Banks make up the next row, with Timothy Cox and RAC Haas in 28th in the F2 championship hunt. Peter Reed in 29th and Jason Guerrera in 30th.
31st is going to be Andy Saunders, followed by Mackenzie Manjo Fierro, in 33rd, followed by Dave Devine in 34th. Row 18 is Michael Green and Tom Dell. Row 19, Zach Naylor and Loic Barba. Those Barba setting off the list of guys who did not set a time. Andre Solander behind him in 39th, and Aiden Taylor in 40th. And to round out the field, Paul Clark, Nicholas Ingleton, and Lloyd Barba.
We made it before it went green. DJ and I both get our GSRC's commentator bonus for doing that. We wait for all the drivers to take their spot on the grid. Glad you are with us. Round 2, Season 23, the Absolute Beginner League's Formula Neagle. David Third Degree Burns, 2-time champion, sitting on the pole. Inside, he's not a rookie, but he only has a handful of races to his name. Manuel Lucetta, he drove through the field in the opener. He's not going to have to do that right now as he sits just a tick to Burns' right flank. They are gridding up right now. Glad you are with us. As we roll over the top, boy, that is a nice Dougie Beard camera shot there. As you can see, everyone taking their spot. Weather is good. The fans are here. You're here. We've been here since Season 5. Glad to be back for one more time. You can hear the engine start to harmonize. You know what to do. Gather up the chickens, take covering on the cows. The horses are out of the barn. 2-time champion David Third Degree Burns forced to lead the stampede down into the first corner as they head to Tamburello. Look at the move on the inside. It's the Junkyard Dog moving in for second as they go side by side with Lucetta. They follow behind. Boy, they are ganging up in second position as Burns drives away.
David able to actually pull out ahead there very, very well, and kudos to the rest of the field, looking like everybody's getting through nice and easy. Burns starting to pull a gap. Lucetta holding off that move early from Young, costing him, though, as Kabanga's able to get up behind him into third.
Tip of the hat to all the drivers so far. Man, they were really bunched up in the back. They managed to get through, and I'm talking about the entire grid. Well done. Now let's see what Burns can do as he tries to pick him up and put him down, maybe get a little bit of distance. Can he drive away from the field? It's not a draft-oriented track. Maybe he can.
And it looks like that's exactly what he's trying to do here, Soup, putting on the paces as best he can, putting on a good gap here up to about 0.8 of a second for Burns, but this very fierce battle for second place between Lucetta, Kabanga, and Young really, really playing out well.
I want to give a tip of the hat to the driver in fifth. We don't know a lot about him. It's Taylor Reeder. He qualified well. Sitting in fifth right now. I hear somebody blew an engine. It was indeed Zach Naylor had a little bit of a spin. In fact, there was a 3-car spin out there. I see a lot of cars in the grass. Troy Banks is one of them, along with Timothy Cox. Well back in the order. Up front, we remain clean.
Everybody keeping it nice and clean up front as they dive down into Ravazza. Woo, super wide their line, and that is going to allow for Allard to get by Taylor Reeder for 8th place.
That car pulling out on screen right there, that's the yellow and pink car of Young as he goes side by side across the start finish line. He'll have the preferred position. He is side by side with Manuel Lucetta now, who is falling back in the field, and agreed Young, who made a stab for second place on lap number 1, fall back. Now he moves into 4th position.
We've got it. Oh, it's Potacek, and it looks like, I believe, Brem as well.
Boy, it was a really closing right there as Potacek was in front. Vincent Bream, or I'm sorry, it was indeed the Vin Potacek who closed incredibly fast on Bream and caught him.
Tough break for them. As a big fan out there in the back, you can see really, really good action. Kudos to everybody for keeping it nice and clean, though, through Villeneuve as they now work their way down into Tosa.
Bream and Potacek were racing 7th and 8th. Boy, Potacek ran out of fuel in the opening round. He lost a podium position. He's now farther down. We look at this battle for 16th, which includes former champion Neil Bamber.
Bamber leading it off. Giros trying to hop in behind. There you see the Lion behind Boyer trying to make something happen as well. Really, really good battling all up and way down, all up and down the field. Everybody seeming to prove us commentators wrong, saying it was going to be difficult to pass. Oh, you cannot get a pass done through Agua Minerale, but that's not enough. Oh, as Leolis spins it around.
The Lion is not going to like that as he gives out a roar, brings the car back onto the tarmac, but boy, he has lost a ton of spots, fallen well down the order. Up front, any hopes of Burns running away? Well, those were short-lived as Lucetta has ran him down.
Yeah, Lucetta's really starting to put the pressure onto him here, going to try to take advantage of the draft as they go down this curving main straightaway. There you see Lucetta ducking out to the inside. That's going to be the preferred line going into Tamburello. He's got the speed if he can. I'm sorry, I was looking back. That's Kabanga doing it on Young.
Kabanga, yeah. Kabanga makes the pass on Young. Young drops down into 4th position. Right behind them as well, a pass made by Allard as he gets around Taylor Reeder.
Yeah, Reeder and Allard swapping back and forth. Is Eric Leukel now going to have a look at Taylor Reeder as well? Coming off of Tamburello, lining up for Villeneuve. It looks like Leukel's going to try to dive to the inside, thinks better of it, is going to stay in line as they go through that next set of chicanes.
My spidey senses are tingling. Let's go ahead. We're going to stay here as we ride on board with Leukel. And you can see he gets to the inside, makes the pass now.
Good move for Leukel there through Tosa to make that work, but it looks like Reeder's going to try to fight back into Piratella. He's going to have the inside line, but doesn't have the guts to do it, decides to fall back into line. Smart move from Reeder. That's a very, very tricky corner, brush braking through it, so not a heavy braking zone to make a good pass.
So it's Allard, Leukel, then following them you got Reeder, then finally the last car in that train. We talked about him, Nick Carty. Keep an eye on him as he races inside the top 10.
Carty having a good run. Lots of little pokes out to the inside there for Reeder. I think he's just trying to get into the head of Eric Leukel. Doesn't mean he's actually going to try to make any of these moves, but instead just wants him to know that he's there and constantly be looking at his rear view.
There are bonus points for most laps led this season, so Burns already has one for leading a lap. Very unusual to see Third Degree up there burning the fuel, but that's what he's going to have to do. And right now, if we go up and look at the leaders, you can see maybe, DJ, maybe if he teams up with Lucetta, they might have the pace to drive away from Kabanga and Young. Young making the pass now again as they swap position, trying to get to the front two.
Yeah, playing a little bit of a game of leapfrog here are Kabanga and Youst Young, just seeming to swap on that front straight every single lap as we've got a battle here shaping up. That's Reeder and Allard, that not going away. Reeder holding that inside line. Way to go. Leukel now getting interested.
Oh, I'd love to watch it up front, but we have found the battle. This thing is heating up right here. This is Allard now in front. Right behind him is Reeder looking for a way around. Watching the whole thing is Leukel, and not that far back is Carty. We continue on these four. They are putting on the show. Now trying to go to the outside. That's the long way around is Leukel, but he tries to get it done. No, correct, that is Reeder making the move there. Allard up reading the train.
Allard able to hold that defensive line. I thought for a minute that that alternate line there from Reeder was going to send him off and leave him open to Eric Leukel coming up here into Piratella. That did not happen. Reeder just keeping the pressure on Ricard Allard as they dive down the hill into Agua Minerale, pokes his nose out, thinks about making the move there through that first right-hander, decides not to. Very smart. One of the trickiest corners in the world, that sequence right there.
Not much changing up front as they continue to race in order. The battle is back here. I'd like to say that Ludwig Sauer is slowly closing in on those guys that are in front of him.
He is, but Soup at the front end of the field, something happened to David Burns. He's all the way back into third.
I see that as well. That's surprising. I thought it was safe up there. I'll do a quick replay, see if I can figure it out. My guess is he realized he wasn't running away. He probably said, you know what? Let me do what I do and back up a bit.
Yeah, Soup, I'm looking at it here. As we jump back to a GSRC replay, we can see him diving down into Agua Minerale right now. Lines it up. Did he just get a little bit? Oh,
he came up on some lap traffic. It was the slower car, I think, of Timothy Cox that caught him by surprise, and he had to get off the binders. That's what cost him the position.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
exactly it. So we're going to go on board here to watch this decision from David Burns. There you see double spin out in front of him. Whew. Burns doing a very good job to keep that car from impacting into another car.
Boy, he's lucky he didn't get there any faster because Cox was tank slapping that thing. It was going left and right. There was no way to tell. So that puts Manuel Lucetta out in front. He's got himself about a 5-car length distance on Juice Junk. Burns sitting in third with Christian Kabanka. Remember, we saw Kabanka up front early when we were qualifying. He's got pace.
He certainly does, and trying to prove to David Burns that he belongs in that podium, thinking about making a move into Piratella. They're going to go down into Agua Minerale here, working onto that hard corner right, and then this tricky uphill right-hander as well. Staying single file, but maximum pressure being assigned as far as they can get.
They got a lap car, Mackenzie Mann, but Mann is maybe 4 or 5 corners away. I don't think they'll get there too quick. We've been jumping around a lot. Let's watch a little bit of racing right now. We're looking here at Kabanka and Reeder. I like this Reeder guy. This Taylor seems to have pace and some good racecraft.
Yeah, he really, really does. There you see that train in front really starting to concertina through Ravazza. They work their way onto this curving front straightaway. This is the only place that draft is going to come into play. You get almost a quadruple draft here for Kabanka. We'll have to see if anybody's going to have the guts to make a move into Tamburello, or if we are back into a situation where you've all just got to kind of slow down and take it as it comes, as Jonk sets the fastest lap of the race.
And you watch, they come across the line right there. This is a long straightaway, and there's a lot of time out of Ravazza, well, what I call the second Ravazza, corner 15. There's really 2 of them. There's enough time to steal a win, especially in these skippies as those drivers head down into Tamburello now. Working lap number 6, 40 minutes of racing schedule. There will be a pit stop.
There will be, but as you see on your screen there, Taylor Reeder, the Indiana driver, having a little bit of a bobble into Tamburello, costing him 2 spots. A Lardon local able to get by, and now he's under the hot eyes of Nick Carty.
Like to stay here, but we're going to take you away from this battle because we have a new leader. It's Juice Junk. Now, I don't want to be nonchalant about what's going up front, but to be honest with you, viewers, these guys have raced together so much. Passing for the lead is not all that dramatic. These guys know what they're doing. So right now, it is Junk, Lucetta, Burns, and Kabanka. That's a different DJ from what we saw the final lap when last week when we were at Watkins Glens, where they were pulling out all the stops. Right now, these guys know they have a ways to go before it matters.
Exactly. Very seasoned drivers up front. They know what it is. And Soup, you hit the nail on the head talking about how late that start-finish line comes on the straightaway after Ravazza. I would not be surprised if these guys stay in line for a while and then start to practice their timing of when they want to jump out from the draft to maybe just get a nose ahead at the line.
And don't be surprised, you can win it from third. One of the preferred moves here in Formula Neagle is what my dad used to call putting the toothpaste back in the jar. I'm not quite sure how old he was when toothpaste came in the jar, but there's enough time to shoot through the middle, and that's something that can be done right now. That's a great camera shot there, Dougie Beard, as we look back at the 91.
It is. Dougie always giving us some of the best stuff. As Christian Kabanka, you can see him, made a move on David Burns. Burns down to 4th. So that's going to change the order here, but very, very close between this top 4. Throw a blanket over all of them.
You can see on the tower, DJ was talking about how close they are up front, the top 4 under that blanket. Then it's a long way back to that next group, almost 10 seconds back to Allard, Lucal, Reeder, and Carty. Josh Brain, maybe we can get a clip of this. I think it just happened. This is a big one. Car number 946. Josh Brain lost it in front of a bunch of people.
So there you see.
Go ahead,
yeah,
DJ.
I was going to say that's Sauer. He's working on to the inside, lining up for Tamburello. Oh, 3 wide. I don't think you can do that, boys. Makes contacts and goes spinning. Watch these guys coming around. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Just nowhere for some of these drivers to go.
That's Crook and Bamber who were first to him. Crook, who led the F2 championship, he won't be leaving Italy, and Bamber, who has a championship under his belt. Not the day they were hoping for. There is a fast repair, but any chance of finishing well up in the points, gone.
That's going to be a very, very heartbroken image for all of them, but we jump back up to this battle for P1. Order remains the same. Lucetta, Cabanca, Young, Lucetta, Cabanca, and Burns 1, 2, 3, 4 as they work their way down. Burns looking like he's just a hair back from them, probably just doing what David Burns does best, holding back, saving just the merest morsels of fuel he can, seeing if he can maybe eke out one more lap over over his competitors.
Let's stay on this battle until they get down into Tamburello, see if anybody makes a move. Then we're going to jump back and talk about some of the other drivers. Sure enough, here comes Burns. Now, that pass was made after the finish line, so keep that in mind for the end of the race. There goes 1, there goes 2. And the Junkyard Dog says, go ahead, go on through. David Burns back and forth. All right, let's highlight car number 14. He's racing all by himself. Ludwig Sauer, out there in his familiar light blue colored machine, sitting there in 9th position. And then Director, if we go back one more spot back to car number 36, how about a tip of the hat to Christopher Garros. Both those drivers, I think, in the F2 champion, names to keep in mind.
Most certainly, and for Gyros and Neptune there right behind him, has to just keep everything in order. Great shot from Dougie. You can see the two of them not really close enough to take full advantage for the Trident Frederick Neptune, but certainly enough to just keep Christopher Gyros on his toes.
You talked about Frederick Neptune, a fan favorite, making his 77th race here today. Holds the record for the most Formula Legal starts without a win. In fact, still looking for a top 5. We have a car off in the sand that's getting out of the way. I think that's going to work out all right for everybody.
Yeah,
let's go back to car number 41. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Ari Seahas and Jeffrey Bauer in a nice little battle going on for 14th.
Yeah, there you see that's Brower trying to do what he can, diving down into Agua Minerale. Seahas in the red and black car able to keep it positioned. You see how squirrely that car gets through that first corner. What makes that so difficult, that sequence of 1-2 soup, is that you can't fully get slowed down for the corner when you want to. You have to be putting in steering as you're applying the brake pressure. It's a one-way ticket to locking up the wheels, but you have to do it in some way. It's almost like you have to trail brake through that first corner to be able to slam on the brakes the minute you can straighten up the steering wheel.
All right, we have story to talk about up front. Let's go to 91, Manuel Lucetta. Starting to cook with some hot fish grease now as he has opened up a nice little lead. How about 1.3 seconds in Formula Neagle? That might as well be 1.3 miles. That is a long way in this series to be leading somebody. Burns trying to run him down. We might have a see what happened here as Lucetta either even made the pass or find out how he got so far up.
So there we go. Yeah, they're coming down. That is through Variante Alta right there. And I think he got a slowdown. That's what it is. He cut the track soup. He got a slowdown penalty.
There you have it. Another element to think about it, as that slowdown penalty is what split him up and gave Lucetta a chance to run away with this. Fast repairs are in this series for the first time. Well, they've been around for a couple seasons, but what that does, DJ, in the old days when you crash, you'd leave the herd within. But now you get yourself a fast repair, you get out there, and drivers have to deal with lap traffic a lot sooner than they normally would.
They do, and on an old school circuit like this, you know, we talk about how hard it is to pass here. Well, it's just as hard to get out of the way. There's not a lot of long straightaways where you can, if you are a lapped car, sort of back off and let things happen. As this battle now for P6 starting to develop a Lard and local, trying to face down Christian Reeder here, or Taylor Reeder here. But yeah, that becomes a very, very crucial thing, finding an area to get out of the way. And if you're a faster car, you don't want to get caught up behind a slow car through sections of the course like Agua Minerale or even Tamburello or Villeneuve.
These four drivers have probably been a little more aggressive than what's been going on up front, but that's not to say that up front hasn't had its drama as well, as Burns had to take evasive action, slowdown penalties. And now, what is unusual, DJ? David Burns has come in. He's notorious for saving fuel, running long. Not going to do that today.
No, that's a bit of an interesting move there from Burns. We're just over 21 minutes to go here in the race. So, you know, we've seen how sometimes if you come in a little bit early, catch it wrong, you're going to catch the strategy wrong and it'll catch you out. But Burns here trying for the undercut.
You know, I wonder, usually David isn't the most confident driver in his pace. He is our pole sitter. I wonder if he thinks, you know, I might be faster than these guys on my own. Maybe I'll just come in here, run some hot laps, and by the time they're done fooling around, when they decide to come in, maybe I can do the undercut.
I think he may be right, but he's going to be having a lot of ground to make up to get up to Manuel Lucetta. You see him on screen. That gap back to second place, Christian Kabanka, over 2 seconds right now. So Lucetta just absolutely running away at the sharp end of the field.
The Italian driver way up front. Look, they pay us to have an opinion. Lucetta, speed has never been his problem. It's always been consistency and being able to temper his aggression. Well, we'll see what he can do now. He is out there putting in some fast laps. He's racing David Burns, who's on the other side of the track. Burns has made his pit stop. Burns' car a little heavier now with fuel.
Yeah, it's a little bit heavier, and we just heard over the radio Christian Kabanka saying he will be pitting on this lap, so that's certainly going to throw a wrench into the works. We'll have to see how Burns relies back to him. I think you may have been right, Soup, about him wanting to just go out and run some hot laps free of any sort of traffic when he came out. Absolutely clear track around him. Here comes Kabanka and Yonk onto the main straightaway. There you see Kabanka pitting in, Yonk trying to take the last bit of draft that he can.
I think Kabanka's announcement that he was pitting had two edges. It was a double-edged sword. I think he was first, don't rear-end me, I'm pitting. And second, hey, Youst, why don't you come in with me? We can team up. Youst says, no, I'm going to run on my own. So Kabanka's out there all by himself. What we want to pick up now is Burns. What Christian needs to do is get in and out and see if he can time up with David Burns, who's only had, maybe one lap since his stop.
Yeah, that's right. Here he comes working his way down into Ravazza. Both Lucetta and Kabanka stationary in the pit box right now. Lucetta just now starting to roll. So we'll have to see here. It is a very long pit straightaway. Here comes Burns. Let's see it.
Indeed, I missed that, though. Lucetta also came in. I was fascinated on the announcement. Lucetta coming out. Let's see how they pair up with Kabanka. Burns goes by. Kabanka well back. 20 car lengths behind Burns.
Yeah, so Burns looks like the guys that he was racing with, he was able to get a little bit of a jump on them by pitting early, but that gap up to Manuel Lucetta, just absolutely impossible to claw back in. Lucetta now 2.5 seconds up on Burns. The closest one to him to be able to maybe try to make something happen now is Youst Yonk, who's out in the lead.
So the junkyard dog is unleashed as he's out there racing as fast as he can, trying to pick up as much distance between him and the guys who have made their stops.
Indeed, he is. Clear track for a moment there, but now he's going to come up on some lap traffic. He is now going to be, I'm going to imagine Young's going to want to come in the pits. He may still be able to run a couple of laps of fuel here, but he doesn't want to get caught out by an undercut and doesn't want to get slowed down by these drivers ahead.
As we look at this, just want to mention that Reeder and Lucal, they all stayed out, as well as Carty. Those guys continue to race together. Woohoo! They come. That's Reeder.
And Carty behind him, both of them pitting, so that's going to put Eric Lucal up into second. Youst Yonk choosing to stay out. Couple other guys pitting behind as well. Looks like that's Timothy Cox, a bit of lap traffic.
Yonk had to get through Andre Solander and Joe Fierro as he had no time to waste with the slower traffic. Yonk racing, doing what he can. Whoa, that's the 91 going way off. That is Manuel Lucetta avoiding a wreck.
looks like that was an error coming down onto pit lane. Lucetta, heart and mouth moment there, able to keep everything pointed forward and not pick up any incident points.
That was Jan Mild, who was a bit wild as Lucetta had to go off into the Italian tundra to go around him.
And Soup, jumping back to take a look at pit stops, Taylor Reeder did not have a good stop. He was stationary in the box, about 6 seconds longer than everybody else, dropping him down to 9th place. Allard, Carty, and Sauer able to get out ahead of him.
And Frederick Neptune, sadly, and he had a bit to complain about, as Zach Taylor looped the car and then did not put the brakes on, was actually trying to get back going, and the Triton speared him. Frederick was not happy about that one. Here's a little bit of, this is the absolute beginner league, as I can tell you that Yushuk coming in right now. This is what you don't want to do as a beginner, as there's the Trident. You just want to keep yourself locked up there, even if you're sitting in the racing line.
Very, very true. As here comes Yus Young coming down pit lane. We'll have to see how he comes out local in the pits as well. So it looks like most of our leaders electing to come in. Manuel Lucetta right now working into the first Ravazza as Young is stationary in the box.
The question is, when Mild got wild, how much time did Lucetta lose taking evasive action? Is it enough for Young to get out? Young is rolling. Lucetta is coming. Young passed the pace car. Lucetta passed the pace car. Young coming out on the track, but there goes the Italian.
Even with that checkup, because of the spin, it looks like Lucetta has the advantage, but David Burns very, very close behind Joost Junk now, under a second gap for third degree there, the driver of the 125 car. So that early pit stop for Burns paying some good dividends. Obviously not able to catch up to Lucetta, but certainly able to start applying some pressure to Joost Junk here.
Now, Junk ran out of fuel last round. He had to make a second pit stop, which cost him. He had a pretty good stop this time as well. Let's hope he didn't make the same mistake. The real loser, once the pit stops were done, car number 78, Christian Kabonga. He was racing up front with him. He's long gone now, all by himself in fourth.
He is, and just looking very briefly at his pit times, it looks like he was stationary in the box about 3 seconds longer than any of his competitors up in front of him. So that is what has contributed to this 3-second gap all the way up to Manuel Lucetta. So pit strategy, pit errors, really, really harming the 78 here today.
Okay, DJ, with pit stops all done, let's we got about 13 minutes of racing to go. We'll take them two at a time. Let's work our way through the field. I'll take the top two. It is indeed the Italian driver, Manuel Lucetta, looking for his first career win today. He's got himself a nice lead on the Junkyard Dog, which is Joost Junk, but Junk's got some work to do.
He does indeed, but right behind them and right behind Joost Junk, David, third degree Burns, applying all kinds of pressure to the Junkyard Dog, doing a really good job to keep it up here. Behind them, courtesy of a bad pit stop, Christian Kabonka currently running in fourth.
We're going to stay on this battle for a minute as we look at the pass. There goes Burns, moving to the inside, and Junk tucks back in. So they settle down now into that position, into second and third. Burns puts in the fastest lap of the race. They are about 3 seconds ahead of Kabonka. Moving back a bit, we go back to fifth position. We'll go to Eric Lukel. Pretty much all by himself. Remember, he was in that four-car battle for fifth position. That's broken up now. He's got himself a comfortable 2.3-second lead on Ricard Allard. But again, Lecard's not out of danger yet. Look who's behind him.
That's the number 10 of Nick Carty, that beautiful blue machine, really starting to put some pressure onto Allard. Him having a very good race, stationary from where he started in 7th place. But behind them, Ludwig Sauer, up 7 positions from his starting spot. He's under all kinds of pressure from the car behind.
Indeed, it is Taylor Reeder, the newcomer. He was fast, maybe has a little bit of learning to do as he works in 9th position. Then back to 10th, an F2 possible champion is Christopher Garros. He's got about 14 seconds back to the fan belt. Go, DJ.
The fan belt of Johan Vanderbilt running in 11th right now. Having a pretty clean and steady race for him here. Obviously doing very well, but Jeffrey Brower behind him in 12th. Not letting Johan get away that easily.
Work through our top 20. It's Ari Seahas. We talked a little about him. You saw him on the F2 chart early in the pre-race show. He's got himself a little bit of a lead here on JTM, Joe Turner McMullen.
And behind them, the Lion, Merrick Liolas, doing a very good job, up 9 positions from his starting spot to run 15th. Christopher Crook, one of the stars of the race out in Watkins Glen, currently behind him in 16th place.
Indeed, sits atop the F2 chart coming into this race. 17th position, former champion Neil Bamber. We saw him have trouble. Fast Repair helped him out. He's got himself a lapped car between him and the man chasing him, Jason Guerrera. And the final two in the top 20, DJ?
Well, those final two are going to go to Andre Salander and Craig Schill, who are current. Podacek is there's bouncing around on my counting and scoring. We've got a little bit of back and forth here. Sorry about that. Wojciech Podacek in 19th is the series organizer. Obviously ran out of fuel last week, probably watching the fuel gauge a little bit closer than he was last time. And then Andre Salander going to be running in 20th. Andre started 39th, way up the field for Andre.
Now we'll look at P2. This is Burns and Yunk. Yunk had the bad points day in the opening round, possibly not a championship threat. Burns had a great points day, finishing in 2nd. Lucetta got a legitimate amount of points. He's still in the hunt as the leader, so if you're talking big picture, Lucetta picking up the win here will help.
It certainly will, and if you're David Burns, you've got to be thinking about the long game. You've got to be thinking about that points total. He doesn't want to send a move up the inside of Yunk that will ruin both of their races. If Yunk doesn't finish, then he's effectively out, as he had a terrible finish last week. But Burns right now has a good gap over him, and he wants to keep it that way. His best competitor right now, I think, for that title, the way things stand, will be Manuel Lucetta, who's out front.
We had a first-time winner with Christian Perez at Watkins Glen. Is it time for another first-time winner here with the Italian driver, Manuel Lucetta? Well, just 8 minutes and 30 seconds stand between him and that accomplishment as he's working lap number 15. Did he put in enough fuel? Sure he did. Does he have clear road ahead of him? Sure he does. What could stop him?
Well, as to your point about fuel soup, I think Lucetta is home free. He was about, I would say, a second longer in the box than David Burns and about 2 seconds longer in the box than Just Yunk. So I don't have any fear there, but here comes Burns on the inside of Yunk. He's got him. These two continually just swapping positions as the race goes along.
Boy, I don't want to be Chicken Little, the sky is falling, but Yunk ran out of fuel in the first round, and he was pretty darn fast in that pit stop. Let's hope he's got enough petrol to get to the end. If he doesn't, being behind Burns is the place to be.
Most certainly, if you're able to keep pace with somebody as good and as consistently quick as David Burns, you know you're doing something well. You see him fighting a little bit of oversteer there, coming through that corner of Tosa. Now just tucking up behind in the draft as they make their way up the hill towards Piratella. No real overtaking opportunity here for Yunk. Just wants to try to do what he can to keep close to Burns.
Boy, it's really fun to watch the driver make those fine adjustments. My hands aren't that busy when I race, and that's probably why I'm not very fast. These guys are, everything they're doing, they're never keeping their hands still.
No, they're not. It's one of the things about this Skippy that makes it such a great training car is that it does slide around a whole bunch, and so you really have to keep it under control and know exactly what it's doing. As Burns has a very bad run there through Variante Alta that's going to allow for Yunk to close up right behind.
This will be interesting. Let's see if the Junkyard Dog actually wants the spot. Boy, that felt like a bit of a lift there. Maybe just didn't want to force the issue. 6.5 minutes of racing to go. Maybe Yunk likes where he is, sitting back there in third.
Well, let's see what he does on the straight here, Soup, as that may have been a lift for him to try to time it. Yeah, there it is. He doesn't want that position quite yet. And this is what goes into what I was talking about a little bit earlier, timing out that run off of the last corner down the straight to the first, to the start-finish line. But there comes Yunk diving down to the inside. Burns is going to give him the position, move Yunk up a spot, but don't be surprised if that changes next lap by.
I'm not so sure David didn't want that to actually happen. It'll be interesting, though, to see, do you make the pass before you get to Ravassa and then defend to the finish line, or do you want to come out of the final corner in front and do your defending there? I want to jump back to this battle that's back here for 6th position. Car number 10, tip of the hat to Nick Carty. I've been watching him for season after season, little by little. I talked about drivers who don't have a chance to win, but mark their success by how much they improve. I don't know if Nick Carty actually falls into that class, because he is getting better, and I would not be surprised if one of these days he's first to the checkered flag. Having a good run.
I wouldn't either, and it's a massive testament to Carty's driving ability. You know, Imola is considered one of the toughest tracks on the iRacing simulation. And so the fact that he is this quick and putting in a good top 10 performance here, massive kudos to this driver.
Yeah, this guy started as a back marker to mid-packer and has consistently improved. One of the fun of covering this series for so many seasons is watch these guys get better. It's called the Absolute Beginner League. Don't be fooled by that. There's a lot of talent here, but they welcome guys. They're very inviting to have guys come in. If you're a newcomer, you want a nice place to race, just follow the rules, be respectful. Keep the binders on. If you find yourself stuck in the middle of the track, let guys go around you. You'll find a welcoming home here. Let's go to our leader. He's got some lap traffic in front of him. One of them is Jan Mild. Remember, Mild had that pit entry problem, fast repair. He's back out there. Another one is Josh Brain. He also ran into some problems. So Manuel Lucetta, GJ, doesn't know the history of these guys in front of him.
No, he does not, but he is going to want to be dispatching them as quick as possible. He's got about a 3.4 second gap back to Youth Junk in second, but does not want to be held up by any of these lap cars whatsoever of Brain or Mild. It can cost you a whole bunch of time here at Imola. But I will say, Soup, we've got about just under 4 minutes to go. I think we may get 1, maybe 2 laps at the line.
Every point is important in this short series, and our director has found what I'm talking about. Yunk ahead of Burns. It seems like second and third. What does it really matter? Well, those points could be very, very important, especially with Manuel Lucetta. Looks like he's on the way to a victory, going to pick up the lion's share of the points. Burns wants to get as much as he can. He knows finishing ahead of Yunk could be the difference in his 3rd crown.
It very well could. You know, Soup, we were talking before the broadcast started about how we thought that this was going to be Burns' championship to lose, and this is really where he's got to assert that claim. I think if Yunk manages to pip him here, manages to beat him to 2nd place, that's going to be a massive thorn in Burns' side and could have some pretty devastating implications for the championship, especially if Lucetta puts in another race or two like this.
Indeed, as we're looking at just over 2 minutes of racing to go.
Under 2 minutes, Lucetta crossing the line here. So I think that means we're going to have 2 to go at the line if we time this out just right. So there you see it, Lucetta crossing the line, Yunk getting worked on by Burns. Burns opting not to make the pass there. Not sure if it's going to be 1 or 2 laps or if it's going to be checkered or the white flag when we cross over. We'll get back to you on that, but Burns knowing it's now go time. So here they go. Burns looking back, trying to make that move any way that he can. He's not really going to try to push here. So very difficult to get a pass done in the second sector of this lap. There you see, a little bit of a different line through Tosa, as now they're coming on lap traffic. That is Mild and Brain. Lucetta able to dispatch the both of them ahead and get through nice and easy. His gap up to about 4 seconds as of right now. We're going to keep with this battle here. We'll check back with Manuel when we get to the line and see what that ends up shaking out to be in terms of white or checkered flag. But Burns, hot behind the heels of Just Junk right now, looking through Agua Minerale. Burns, very good. There it comes the move. He's going to dive out to the outside there, but Junk shuts him off a little bit. I don't know if that was a move or just a different line trying to carry some speed. They now come through into Variante Alta, working their way around. Burns still hot on Junk's heels, trying to see what can happen. Are these lap cars ahead of them going to throw up a wrench for these two perennial title contenders? We see as Burns now puts his way down into Ravazza. Let's jump up quickly to Manuel Lucetta. Figure out what it is going to be. You can see them all on your screen. Is Lucetta going to cross the line with enough time to spare here? This is going to be checkered. This is going to be it. Manuel Lucetta will win here at Imola. What can David Burns do behind him? It doesn't look like he has the draft, but he might. Here he comes at the line. No, it's going to be Junk. Junk over David Burns. Christian Kabanga looks like easily he will breeze in for fourth position. But let's jump back to Eric Lukel if he will be able to earn that position. Ricardo Allard here. We ride on board with him. Allard trying to close in on Nick Carty ahead of him. That's not going to happen. So Allard will cross the line in 7th place, it looks like. But here comes Ludwig Sauer trying to make a move. I think that actually may be Taylor Reeder. So that's going to line up with Sauer, Reeder in 9th. Johan Vandeveld, the fan belt, looking like he will be able to safely take in that 11th position with Jeffrey Brower behind him in 12th. Here's a good battle, though. This is Christopher Crook. This is the battle for 20th as of right now. Oh, Crook goes very wide. That's going to really mess him up there. That's going to be Andre Salander able to pull on through, but it looks like Crook not giving away that easily. Pushing wide through Agua Minerale. That is Salander having a massive off. Craig Schill now pulling up into position. This is really shaping up to be a great battle to the line for this 19th spot. That's Crook. Schill in the green. Schill looks to the inside as they go through Variante Alta. Works their way back through. Nothing doing there. Salander after the off through Agua Minerale, trying to fight back. We've seen how powerful that draft can be coming off of Rabazza. We're going to see here Craig Schill lining up Christopher Crook. Does he have anything on the drag to the straightaway? Can he make this work? Different line. Crook's tail slides out ever so slightly. He's got about a half a second lead over Craig Schill. Andre Salander a half second back. Here comes the draft. They work through the first kink. They start getting to the grid positions. I don't think anybody's going to have it. 19th will be Christopher Crook, followed by Craig Schill and Andre Salander to round out your finishers in 21st. Absolutely incredible racing here from everyone in the Absolute Beginners League. We're going to take a very quick break on GSRC and run you through the finishing order as well as some interviews with your winners.
Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League. From Imola, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's Round 2 coverage of Formula Neagle Season 23 Championship. The results are in. DJ, how did it fare out?
Well, Manuel Lucetta able to pull off that victory in a commanding fashion, almost by 4 seconds over Justjunk and David Burns. Burns not able to make the pass to the line. Christian Kabanka, a very quiet second half of his race, was able to come home in 4th, followed by Eric Luckel and Nick Carty. Ricardo Allard and Ludwig Sauer in 7th and 8th. Taylor Reeder was up as high as 4th earlier in the race, but Reeder falling back to 9th. Christopher Giros coming home in 10th. In 11th was was Johan Vanderbilt, the Fanbelt, followed by Jeffrey Brower in 12th, Ari Sejas in 13th, JTM, Joe Turner McMullen in 14th, followed by the Lion himself, Merrick Leolis. And then behind him, Neil Bamber and Jason Guerrara, 16th and 17th, Vincent Bream in 18th, Craig Schill in that battle that we saw coming to the line with Andre Solander in 20th, and then bringing the car home in 21st, Christopher Crook, and that will round out your finishers on the lead lap here today, Soup.
Indeed, the driver's a little slow. Here comes David Burns into the interview booth. Let's go ahead and bring down two-time champion David Burns. I get to talk to him like I have so many times before. And as I say that, it looks like he's blinked away, so maybe David's not with us after all. Well, give us a chance to talk. There he is. There's our guy. Hi, David. Soup here.
Hello, guys.
Well, you had yourself another battle.
Yeah, I think it was the back marker scare early on. It put me off, to be honest. I got quite a fright at that point. I thought it was race over, but I tried my best, but still decent finish.
Indeed. A good points day in the opening round. Good points day now. Christian Perez wasn't back here again today, but Lucetta may be your biggest threat now.
Yeah, he's got some real pace, but he's got quite a high I rating, so I just couldn't quite match him after that. But then my race pace is never quite my qualifying pace. It's always a good few tenths off it, so I need to work on that, to be honest.
Well, you put yourself in a tough position qualifying on the pole. You couldn't sit back there behind everybody like you usually do.
I had quite a dramatic qualifying because I couldn't get a lap. And then I got a gap at the very last lap, and I thought, I wonder if there's enough seconds, and I got some lovely draft. So to be honest, it was a little bit quicker than I should have been.
So what was the thinking on the early stop?
To be honest, I wasn't sure on the bunching because I know you can be a little fighty, and to be honest, I wasn't sure of actually, staying towards the top. I didn't think I could get past Christian and Just at that point anyway, so I thought, well, if I go into the pits early, I have a chance of coming out with Manuel, but I had a horrible pit stop. The guys just sat for ages, like they were doing the crossword puzzle or something rather than putting fuel in, so I think that didn't help.
All right, well, 2 down, 3 to go. You've got yourself, we're assuming, going to come out of here with the points lead. Good luck the rest of the way.
Cheers for that, guys.
All right, there you have it. David Third Degree Burns. DJ, who you got?
Well, I have the always personable Johan Vanderbilt popping into the booth with us right now. Johan, bit of a quiet race. We didn't see a whole much out there, but how was the tricky confines of Imola for you?
Yeah, it was. I made it difficult for myself with a very bad qualifying. I only started P13 because I just kept messing up my laps. And the race itself, the first lap, went quite well. I think I made up 3 or 4 positions in the first lap. But then on the run down towards turn 1, someone tried to have a very new kind of overtaking maneuver or try bump drafting, which didn't go well. So that spun me in the wall. And that just ruined my race because it was too early to go into the pits to get a fast repair. So I just stayed out, but I was 3 seconds a lap slower. And in the end, that lost me so much time that I didn't really have anyone to drive with or anyone to fight with. So I went hot lapping and I got P11 as a result.
Well, it was a good run for you. I mean, a lot of lap cars playing a factor there, as well as just, trying to navigate on here. I personally can never get this track right. How do you feel about it?
It's such a difficult track because I was talking about it with David before. A track like last time around, Watkins Glen, if you're quick there, it just feels good. You just are one with the track. You feel confident that you can get a quick lap time and time again. This track is completely different for me. It always feels like you're doing a balancing act. And if you go a little bit over it, while on Watkins you can still save it, here you can't. You just loop it around. It's really difficult.
Johan, it's Soup here. I didn't expect to see here today, so I can take it you took my advice and you got the girl in the kitchen there stirring the spaghetti sauces. That's how this works?
Oh man, I made the spaghetti sauce before we did the race. It's all Van der Belt cooking here.
Well done. Congratulations. Sorry you didn't get the top 10, but points anyway.
Exactly. Let's hope for a better race next time. See you guys.
All right, Johan van der Velde. Always good to talk to him. Well, we're going to get to talk to a newcomer here. I get to talk to Joe Turner McMullen, new to the series. This is always good. I like it when I get to talk to a fresh voice. Joe Turner, Soup here. Congratulations. And what Joe is saying right now is, yes, I'm new to the series, but I like the competitors around me. I enjoy racing with them. I hope to have better results when we get to the end of the season. So let me ask Joe one more time. Joe, is the Skippy your car of choice? And nobody can hear him right now, but Joe is replying back to me that indeed the Skippy is his favorite car. So with that said, we're going to let Joe go. And what we'll do right now is wrap things up here for the Global SimRacing Channel. Thanks to everybody, the Absolute Beginner League, of course, for organizing Formula Neagle. Thanks to the companies, equipment, and software you see on the screen right now. The original music is courtesy of June Lalonde. See the screen for contact information. On screen now are some of the upcoming broadcasts. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Formula Neagle returns in 2 weeks. That's going to be January 31st from round 3. I have no idea where my plane ticket is taking me to. Maybe somebody would be kind enough to tell me where we are going. We're going to Brazil. Interlagos. That's good. We'll be ready for that one as put on the samba music, the bossa nova, as GSRC is going to Interlagos. If you'd like some more information about the Global SimRacing Channel, you got some options. GlobalSimRacingChannel.com, Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And while you're here, become a YouTube subscriber by hitting that button. If you're looking for a unique gift, check out our merchandise store. That is gsrc.storenvy.com. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, that would be DJ, Joe, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching, as it was indeed Manuel Lucetta picking up his first Formula Neagle career win here at Imola. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.